Black CEO haunted by white female CEO's insult at 49B Gala then cancelled the deal forever. The room went cold as he stepped onto the stage. Andrew Thomas, the pride of Silicon Valley, stood bathed in light, his heart drumming like a warning bell. Murmurs swirled around him like dark clouds. He was about to unveil a deal worth $50 billion. But as he scanned the crowd, his chest tightened. All eyes were on Susan Wells, that infamous white female CEO known for her biting remarks and icy glare. Just last week, at a high-stakes dinner, she had made a remark that felt like knives. It echoed in his head, "Your kind can only play at this level." It was a taunt laced with venom, fully loaded. Tonight, everything hinged on perception. The gala shimmered with crystals and gold, laughter spilling from tables laden with gourmet dishes. Yet the atmosphere was strained, a coiled tension as heavy as steel. Whispers filled the air, the kind that make your skin crawl. Every laugh seemed to mock him, every clink of glass felt like a guillotine's drop. Moments later, Susan cracked a smile, coffee gleaming on her perfectly painted lips, and for a second, Andrew almost lost it. Had this lifelong battle turned into a twisted game of chess? His mind raced, flashing back to childhood, feeling the cruel sting of rejection, the isolation of being different. Never again, he had vowed. But here he was, a trophy in her twisted collection. As he took a deep breath, the veneer of confidence was cracking. What if he walked away? What if he cancelled the deal? Tension clotted the air, thick like fog on a rainy morning. Was there a way out? Suddenly, the silence jolted him. A blaring announcement made everyone freeze. "Ladies and gentlemen, let us give a big round of applause for both our CEOs." The applause felt deafening. Every clap felt like a countdown, nudging him to take a stand. "Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. Andrew's blood froze as the realization hit everyone was looking to him now. The deal was his chance to rewrite their history, but at what cost? Would he allow her insult to dictate his future? Or would he finally break the cycle? Whispering doubts wormed into his mind. The stage lights flickered as if reflecting his internal storm. Could he claim his power back, or was he forever haunted by her words? An even bigger question loomed just beyond the edge of his conscience. Could anger turn to his advantage? Only time would tell. His mind churned as the applause echoed in his ears. No one expected him to freeze. He could feel the weight of every gaze, each one focused like a laser, demanding a response. Andrew clenched his fists at his sides, the cool metal of the microphone almost a lifeline. A sudden rush of adrenaline sent a jolt through him. This was the moment, his moment. "Thank you," he began, his voice steady yet laced with an undercurrent of defiance. "I'm here to talk about a deal that can change the world." The words tasted like fire in his mouth, igniting something deep within. The room shifted slightly, tension palpable. They were leaning in, hungry for more. As he spoke, Andrew noticed Susan's smirk falter, just for a fraction of a second. Did she see the fire in his eyes? He pressed on, ramping up his energy. Every word was charged with purpose. This isn't just about numbers, it's about equity, about creating a legacy where everyone can prosper. We have the chance to redefine success. A ripple ran through the audience, whispers blossoming like wildfire. It was the reaction he had hoped for, a chink in the armor of their judgment. And yet, lurking in the back of his mind was Susan's quip, a serpent coiled and ready to strike. "What do you know about success?" It echoed again, a taunt he fought back hard against. Andrew glanced toward her, searching for an opening. Her expression had shifted, and the warmth of the room seemed to dim. Just then, there was a loud crash from a nearby table as a chandelier swayed dangerously overhead, casting ominous shadows. Gasps mingled with laughter. Tension thickened, and he felt that this was a fragile moment, teetering on the brink. He needed to seize it. "Let us be clear," he said, his tone sharp as a knife. "Success does not fit a mold. It breaks barriers and crosses lines. I stand here not only as a CEO, but as someone who has fought every step of the way." The words fueled something deeper, a connection, a rallying cry. He could hear voices murmuring encouragement. But then Susan stood, silencing the whispers. "And yet, how far can one man go if he believes the world owes him?" Her voice sliced through the noise, and the room froze again. Shock-painted faces, the kind of shock that made hearts race and eyes dart. Andrew felt a firestorm erupt within him. "It's not about what I believe I deserve, it's about what we can build together," he shouted, the energy surging. He took a step forward, the fierce inches felt like a challenge. Her icy demeanor cracked. For the first time, uncertainty flitted across her face. The crowd murmured, electric air pulsing. But that victory was short-lived. Suddenly, a sharp metallic clang echoed from the overhead lights, plunging the room into a moment of chaos as the chandelier crashed to the floor, shattering anything it touched. Gasps erupted like a gunshot. Andrew's heart raced. In the stunned silence that followed, a figure slipped away from the back of the room, unnoticed by most, a smirk plastered across their face. Who was it? Had someone orchestrated this chaos? As a sense of doom washed over him, Andrew realized this was just the beginning. What lurked in the shadows? What strings were still being pulled? And as he looked around, trying to piece together the splintered fragments of the night, an unsettling thought crept in: was he still the one fighting, or had the game turned against him? The undercurrents of betrayal twisted deeper. Where would this lead? Andrew's pulse thundered in his ears, drowning out the frantic murmurs that ricocheted through the now chaotic ballroom. The remnants of the chandelier glinted under the flickering lights, shards sparkling like stars over a darkened horizon. He swallowed hard, his throat dry, feeling the weight of every second, every breath weighing heavier. Something in the air shifted. Was it fear? Or the electric tang of opportunity? He felt it like a current. One moment could change everything, and slipping through his fingers was the moment to claim his future. But the figure at the back of the room, vanishing silently, gnawed at him. Who was it? Susan's shadow loomed large, twisting the conversation into a confrontation that felt increasingly personal with every heartbeat. The crowd, once enthralled, was now like a pack of wild animals sensing danger. In the tension, he spotted familiar faces, supporters, skeptics, and a few others whose eyes gleamed with a hidden agenda. He had to regain control. His heart staggered, uncertain between sprinting after that unseen figure and rallying the crowd. He chose the latter. "Everybody," he called out, voice steadying as he pushed through the chaos. "What just happened is a reminder." The room fell eerily silent as they focused, wide-eyed, on him. A reminder that when we build, we can't be complacent. We need vigilance and courage. This misstep is a lesson that can't be ignored. His voice rose, gritty determination threading through every syllable. We can't let others define our worth, we write our own narratives. Eyes sparked with newfound fire. There, against the backdrop of possible defeat, he felt a surge of unity ripple through the audience. Some began to nod, others exchanged glances filled with hope. But then Susan's icy laughter cut through once more. "Courage in the face of calamity is commendable, Andrew, but let us not forget who practically holds the reins to this deal." She walked toward him, a predator stalking its prey. "You're swimming with sharks now, and your naivety might be your downfall." Andrew clenched his jaw, a hot flash of rage igniting within him. "Some may revel in the dark, but I had my share of struggles from the very beginning. I've faced my battles. Yet here we are, she countered, smirking, the future hanging by a thread. You had the spotlight, and now it's cracked. Maybe it's not just the chandelier that has fallen, but your chance to ascend. The room buzzed, shockwaves morphing into tension that thickened the air. Betrayal hung heavy. Some glanced nervously at each other, fingers twitching over phones, eager to capture every moment. But Andrew couldn't crumple under her words. No. He had come too far. He felt a surge of something deeper rising within him. I refuse to let fear govern my spirit, he declared, his gaze piercing through the whispers. I will not be another story of defeat. A crackling silence hung before the applause began, the same energy that had ignited moments before, now focused on him again. But Susan's piercing eyes glimmered, and Andrew couldn't shake the feeling she held more than just harsh words. As he spoke, he became aware of a new uncertainty swirling in the crowd, the vibrations of doubt seeping into their very cores. Something darker loomed, waiting outside the realm of their understanding. What had he stirred? And just as the applause built, drowning out the whispers of worry, a power outage plunged them into darkness. Screams erupted alongside the audible crackle of panic. Was this orchestrated? Who had pulled the strings? As darkness enveloped him, Andrew's gut churned with dread. He had to find the figure in the shadows. He had to know what was at stake. This night held secrets, dangerous whispers that could unravel everything. That he took a breath, steeling himself for what lay ahead, his heart racing as he stepped toward the chaos. Could he fight back against this looming threat? Or was he already losing the battle before it began? In the dense darkness of the ballroom, chaos erupted like a storm. Andrew pushed through the swarming crowd, bodies brushing against him with frantic energy. They were panicked, confused, terrified. His heart raced. The shadows felt alive, swirling around him, each corner hiding threats he couldn't see. Don't panic. Stay together. He shouted, but his own voice was lost in a cacophony of screams. The flickering emergency lights sputtered to life, casting eerie glows that turned faces ghostly pale. He had to penetrate the chaos, to find that figure lingering at the edge of the room. The one who had vanished just moments before. Yet as he moved, voices whispered around him, laden with suspicion and dread. Who did this? Someone shouted. Where's the exit? Another voice echoed, is it safe to stay? Each inquiry tightened the knot in Andrew's gut. Andrew spotted Susan, her silhouette sharp against the flickering light. She wore an expression of twisted glee, as if relishing the disarray. She was playing a game he couldn't afford to lose. Her eyes gleamed, betraying the satisfaction of the havoc she'd contributed to. Focusing his gaze on the people, Andrew tried to gauge their reactions. The tension was palpable, anxiety crackling through every whispered conversation. For a few brief moments, the applause he had ignited turned into an echo of unease, and his mind raced. What had he stirred beneath the surface? What lay beneath the smiling faces and supportive nods? There was something there, an undercurrent of dread. Suddenly, a loud crash reverberated from the back of the room. The sound sliced through the chaotic air, sending a fresh wave of panic coursing through the crowd. This wasn't just madness, it was orchestrated. Andrew felt a knot tighten in his chest. Stay calm. He urged again, his voice pushing through the fear around him. We have to find the exit. The glow from emergency lights caught the frightened faces of his supporters, and he willed them to see strength in him. But as he spoke, something flickered behind him. Movement. A shadow darted along the wall, too quick to capture clearly. Heart thumping, Andrew jumped forward, leaving the crowd momentarily behind. He could be stepping into a trap, but curiosity and desperation for answers drove him. What was the connection between the figure he'd seen and the tension that suffocated the room? He neared the edge where the shadow had disappeared. The crowd's screams faded behind him, replaced by a heavy silence. The ballroom felt like a cave, haunting and vast. With every step, his pulse quickened. Each corner turned revealed only more darkness. Was he chasing ghosts? Or was this the moment where clarity would emerge from chaos? Then his breath caught. There, beneath the edge of the light, he spotted a figure hunched low, clutching something metallic in their hands. The shape was familiar, and recognition frosted over him like ice. "Who are you?" Andrew called, uncertainty shrouding his voice. The figure slowly looked up, the flicker of the lights casting a harsh glow over their face, revealing a mix of fear and determination. But the moment froze, the truth hanging heavy between them. "Andrew," the figure whispered, voice familiar. "You have to listen to me. They're coming for you. You need to trust me." His heart raced. This wasn't just about the deal anymore. Something much larger loomed, and the stakes were rising. As Andrew took a step closer, the room plunged once more into deeper darkness, and the metallic sound of distant footsteps echoed ominously. What did the figure know? Would Andrew's trust be his salvation or his downfall? The ground below felt unsteady, as secrets crept closer. The silence thickened, as if the very air were holding its breath. Andrew stood there, less than a foot away from the figure whose face he now recognized. His own confusion morphed into dread. "Who are you?" he repeated, more insistent now. The figure shifted in the shadows, clutching the metallic object tighter. "It's Rachel, your sister," she said, her voice shaky but low enough to weave through the chaos outside. He couldn't believe it. Rachel? Here, in the dark amidst the chaos? Why had he not seen this coming? "Why are you here?" Andrew's voice wavered as he fought to keep calm. She raised her hand, revealing a small, glinting device that caught the intermittent light. "I found this. They're watching us, Andrew. They'll stop at nothing to silence you." A flash of panic flared within him. The realization sent a chill down his spine. "Silence me? What do you mean, Rachel?" Her eyes darted toward the crowd, her voice barely above a whisper. "It's all connected, the deals, Susan, everything. They want to control the narrative, and if you're not careful." The words hung between them like a raw nerve, pulsing with unspoken fear. Just then, the lights flickered violently, illuminating the ballroom in a harsh strobe. Andrew squinted, shielding his eyes. In that moment of disorientation, he heard something scuttling quick, like a rat fleeing danger. The panic that had gripped the crowd surged anew, igniting a row of screams that cascaded through the room. "Rachel!" he hissed, desperate to keep her focused. "We need to get out of here. Now!" But she shook her head vehemently, her grip tightening on the device. "No, listen. This is bigger than you or me. If we leave now, we miss our chance to expose them. We need evidence, Andrew, or they'll bury you." Her voice broke off as the crowd surged toward the exits, spilling over one another, a tide of frenetic energy that knocked Andrew back a step. Suddenly, another crash echoed, louder, sending nearby bodies sprawling on the floor. Someone fell against the wall near Rachel. The person didn't get back up. Andrew's blood ran cold as silhouettes began to emerge from the disarray. They moved like wolves, determined and cold. He recognized their uniforms, members of security. The very ones meant to protect them were now hunting them. "Run!" Andrew shouted, adrenaline fueling his legs. He pulled Rachel along, the metallic device clutched tightly in her hands. "We can split up. Head to the staff exit." "No!" she shouted back, panic thick in her voice. "They'll get you. Stay together." At that moment, a blinding light struck through the chaos, a spotlight, cutting through the darkness. Panic intensified and the crowd screamed in unison, eyes darting toward the source. Momentarily mesmerized, Andrew grabbed Rachel's arm, dragging her deeper into the shadows. "We need to find a safe place." "So much for the gala," Rachel muttered under her breath, her sarcasm barely veiling her fear. As they maneuvered past crumpled tables and scattered debris, Andrew's senses heightened. He could hear whispers from the crowd, panic mixing with conspiracy theories, and somewhere in the chaos, someone shouted, "They're targeting the CEO. Get him!" A sense of realization hit him like a freight train. He was the target. Andrew turned to Rachel, his mind racing. "What exactly did you find?" The weight of her response felt heavy, like a stone sinking into the abyss of uncertainty. "I'll explain later. Right now, we have to keep moving. Follow me." Just as they turned a corner, a deafening blast resonated from the front of the room. The ground shook, and for a brief second, everything felt surreal. The walls closed in as panic overwhelmed the air. Andrew's heart skipped. They risked a glance back, but the sight was nightmarish. The ballroom was engulfed in mayhem, the metallic clattering of chaos resonating like thunder. What had Rachel unleashed? The weight of the world hung over them, each moment pulsing with urgency, yet looming with danger. "Trust me," she yelled, sprinting past flickering lights, shadows stretching ominously. Could he trust her? Or had he just plunged deeper into the web of chaos? The exit was still far away, but there was no turning back now. With her hand in his, he pushed forward, the darkness swallowing them whole. What awaited them outside? Would they emerge as prey or predators in a game neither of them chose to play? Adrenaline pumped through Andrew's veins as they warped deeper into the darkness, abandoning the chaos behind. Each frantic step seemed louder than the last, the echoes of terror still lingering in the air. Rachel tugged him along, her grip like a lifeline, dragging him into a world that felt more like a labyrinth than a gala. "We can't stop," Andrew urged, but his voice was nearly swallowed by the carnage that unraveled around them. People were screaming, or crying, or desperately searching for an escape, and it felt like a nightmare he couldn't wake up from. Then, a loud metallic clatter rang out, and they froze. Heart racing, Andrew scanned the murky corners, half expecting the dark to leap at any moment. "What was that?" he whispered, his throat tightening. Rachel's face turned pale as a ghost. "It could be them. We need to be quiet." She pulled him toward a narrow alcove, slipping into a shadow as if they could melt into the walls. Just then, two uniformed security members appeared at the end of the corridor, scanning the area like hawks. Their voices were clipped, low, but the intensity echoed in Andrew's ears. "They went this way. Don't let them escape." Andrew felt the blood drain from his face. Those words struck him hard. They were hunting him like prey. Panic settled deep in his gut, a heavy clenching that felt like an iron fist. Rachel's eyes darted, full of fear and fire. "If we can make it to the back hall, we can disappear for a moment. It might buy us some time, right?" Andrew whispered, more of a plea than anything. They edged away from the alcove, carefully glancing both ways as if crossing a busy street. The chaos still reigned behind them, but they had to move forward. Somewhere in the depths of his mind, Andrew knew they were losing precious minutes. As they reached the next corner, another blast shot through the air, louder and closer, nearly knocking them both off their feet. Andrew grabbed Rachel's arm, eyes wide. "What was that?" "The device. It's giving away our position." She looked frantic, the fear creeping into her voice again. "If they're tracking it, we're already at a disadvantage." He felt a sudden weight in his pocket. It was his cell phone. It was stupid and reckless, but their urgency outweighed that reality. "We should call for help," he said, uncertainty clawing at the edges of his mind. "No!" Rachel nearly shouted, her voice trembling. "If they're tracking us, they'll find whoever we contact. We can't risk it." Desperate determination surged through him. "Then what? We just keep running?" She turned to him, her expression a bizarre mix of resolve and despair. "If we can reach the maintenance room, we can figure something out. We can hide the device, destroy it if we have to." Andrew nodded, but in the back of his mind, doubt whispered. What would that even achieve? Would that silence the chaos, or would it just bury them deeper? Suddenly, a figure emerged from the shadows, blocking their path. Andrew's heart dropped. The man stood tall, muscles taut under his jacket, a familiar predatory gaze locked onto them. "There's nowhere to run," he said, a smirk twisting his lips that sent chills down Andrew's spine. It was Smith, a well-known power player in the corporate world, the last person Andrew ever wanted to see right now. "Back off." Rachel took a step forward, defiance in her eyes, but Andrew could feel her trembling beside him. "This is a mistake," Smith said, the calmness in his tone sharp as a knife. "You think you know what you're doing? You're way out of your league here. Hand over the device and I might let you walk away." Andrew's mind raced. He couldn't let them take Rachel. He couldn't hand over their only chance of survival. "We'll never give it to you," he declared, surprising himself with his own strength. Smith laughed, low and menacing. "You really believe you have a choice?" Before Andrew could respond, chaos erupted around them again. A cacophony of sounds surged from behind heavy footsteps, shouting, panic reinvigorated. Without thinking, Andrew grabbed Rachel's hand. "Now!" They broke into a sprint, the world blurring into shades of gray. But as they ran deeper into the fray, Andrew's heart raced not just from fear, but from the desperate hope that they could somehow slip through the grasp of danger. What lay ahead? Would they finally escape, or were they simply running toward an even darker fate? The corridor twisted before them, a corridor that seemed to extend endlessly into darkness. Each pounding step echoed in Andrew's ears like a hasty heartbeat, urging him forward but also gnawing at his composure. Beside him, Rachel tightened her grip, and they raced past doors that held untold secrets and perhaps more dangers. "Over here." Rachel pointed towards a door marked maintenance. It was their best shot. Without a second thought, they darted in, slamming it shut behind them. The room was small, cluttered with old equipment and flickering fluorescents that buzzed ominously. Dust motes danced in the stale air, and the overwhelming stench of grease hit Andrew like a freight train. "What do we do now?" he whispered, his voice trembling. The explosion of sound from the gala still echoed faintly beyond the door, a reminder that fear was never far away. "Find the device." Rachel scoured the room, her eyes darting about, but to Andrew, it felt as if time was standing still. His palm was slick against the casing of his cell phone, and he wrestled with the idea of contacting anyone. But Rachel's warnings echoed in his mind. "Andrew," she called softly. "Look." In the far corner, under a pile of dusty tarps, they found a battered toolbox. It was an old beast, but Rachel's eyes lit up like fireworks. This might help. She pulled the toolbox open, revealing an assortment of tools that looked like they had seen better days. Wrenches, screwdrivers, and something that looked like a crowbar. Rachel grabbed the crowbar and a screwdriver, her focus turning like a light switch. "If we can access the internal mechanisms of the device, we might be able to disable it. Just give me a second." Andrew's heart raced with each tick of time. "Hurry. We don't have much of it left." Just as Rachel began to peel open the device, the unmistakable thud of boots echoed through the maintenance room door. Adrenaline ripped his spine straight, the sound shuddered through his body, amplifying the anxiety that roared within him. "Smith," he breathed, dread pooling in his stomach. "We don't have much time," Rachel hissed, her hands methodically working on the device, fingers shaking but resolute. Those footsteps grew closer. Andrew's breath hitched, anxiety clawing up his throat. If they find us, he couldn't let that happen. He couldn't let all of this end here. Suddenly, the door rattled violently, a shoulder slamming into it from the outside. The metallic creaking contended with the murmurs of panic outside. "They'll come for us," Andrew said, stricken with doubt. Rachel paused, a flicker of fear crossed her eyes. "If we destroy the device now, they can't trace us. But it might blow the whole place up." "Then we must make a choice," he said, urgency pushing him forward. The door shuddered again and Andrew felt a surge of panic. How many do you think are out there? More than 2. They're working in pairs. Rachel's voice trembled as she glanced at the toolbox full of neglected tools. If we are quick. But before she could finish, the door burst open. Smith and another security officer stormed in, eyes blazing with determination. Get away from it. He lunged forward as Andrew shoved Rachel to the side, instinct kicking in. Time slowed as Andrew rushed toward Smith, fists raised, fueled by the primal roar of self-preservation. But it was futile. Smith was faster and stronger. He grabbed Andrew by the collar, lifting him easily off his feet. Fools, Smith spat, eyes glinting with triumph. You think you can run? This is over. In that defining moment, something flickered in Rachel's eyes, a furious determination. She lunged forward, crowbar in hand. Get away from him! She screamed, swinging it toward Smith with all the fury of someone who had nothing left to lose. The impact sent vibrations through the air as the metal met the side of Smith's torso, enough to knock him off balance. But it was the secondary threat of the other officer, his hand darting for his radio, that made Andrew's heart drop again. Rachel, now! He shouted, panic surging through his veins. In that split second, Rachel hurled the device they were trying to dismantle towards the open doorway, tears of fear streaming down her face. Get back! She yelled, her voice an embodiment of desperation. The device hit the ground, the impact reverberating through the air like a gunshot, and just as they ducked for cover, an explosion of noise erupted simultaneously, what lay beyond the haze of smoke and deafening sounds. Would they find a way to break free of their fate, or would the walls of their nightmares tighten around them forever? The blast rocked the maintenance room, displacing air as if the very walls were screaming. Dust and smoke swirled like angry spirits, engulfing everything. Andrew's hands trembled, the adrenaline coursing through his veins. He didn't dare to look back as the force from the detonation sent both Smith and his partner crashing to the floor, their voices swallowed by chaos. Rachel! He shouted, his throat dry. Are you okay? Her head appeared through a veil of smoke, eyes wide but fiery. I'm fine. But we need to move now. They stumbled, navigating through the haze, both feeling the weight of what they had just unleashed. An alarm blared wildly, drowning the laughter and chatter of the gala above. There was no coming back. As they made their way out, Andrew glanced at the floor where Smith had fallen. He half expected to see him rise, fury etched across his face, but the swirling dust hid everything. No time for second thoughts. They pushed forward, adrenaline pulling them into the adrenaline-fueled unknown. Suddenly, the dim lighting flickered, and the maintenance room's door slammed shut behind them. A shadow darted past, and Rachel shrieked, clutching Andrew's arm. What was that? He squinted through the thickening smoke, his heart hammering. We can't stay here. As they turned to escape, a faint flickering light drew their attention. It pulsed rhythmically in the adjacent corridor, feeling almost like a heartbeat, a warning. Should we check it out? Rachel looked at him, her voice barely above a whisper. We don't have a choice. He hesitated only a moment longer before they crept toward the light, each step echoing ominously. The closer they got, the more an electric buzz filled the air, setting their skin on edge. Then they stumbled into a larger room, a makeshift command station, papers strewn everywhere, and what looked like monitors displaying various feeds from cameras throughout the facility. He saw his own terrified face flash across one. Panic rose anew. It was a trap, he sensed it, but Rachel's eyes caught on a blinking device in the corner, a small generator, connected to rows of wires. Andrew, we could use this. If we can connect it to the mainframe, maybe we can shut the operation down for good. He shook his head, gripping the edges of the table tightly. You know we can't stay here. They'll come looking for us. Just a few minutes, let me try. Her determination ignited something in him. Maybe they could turn the tide. The lights flickered again, and in that moment of uncertainty, they heard voices approaching closer, stronger, calling Smith's name. Fear wrapped its icy fingers around Andrew's chest, squeezing tightly. "I can't," he stammered, racked with indecision. "Please, Andrew, we can't give up now," Rachel urged, and her eyes flared a fierce reminder of everything on the line. One last look at the door, then back to the flickering generator. The voices were right outside. "Okay, but we have to hurry." While Rachel rushed to work on the device, Andrew manned the door, heart thumping wildly as he heard the footsteps nearing. "Get set." He peered into the narrow crack, cringing as he recognized the silhouettes of 2 more security officers. They were serious, hell-bent on capturing them at any cost. The tension hung thick in the air, a noose tightening as he braced himself. "If they come in," he started, but then the lights went out abruptly, plunging them into complete darkness. "What just happened?" Rachel exclaimed, panic edging her voice. "Keep working. We can't let them find us." But before Andrew could fully comprehend the fathoms of danger, the doorknob rattled, and heavy footsteps kicked down the door, black silhouettes against the fragile pool of light that remained their sanctuary crumbling. The weight of the moment crashed over them, and a single thought stabbed through the chaos: fight or flight. Andrew's muscles coiled as he prepared for an impending clash. But there was no time to analyze the odds. "Rachel, now or never!" he shouted. With barely a beat, the door burst open, and as he faced the chaos, he wondered what could happen next. Would they break free, or was this the point of no return? The figure of one officer loomed large, and with a heart full of uncertainty, Andrew felt the dreadful anticipation flood every nerve in his body. What awaited them on the other side of the door? Would they finally escape this nightmare, or plunge deeper into darkness? Chaos erupted as the door crashed against the wall, flinging dust into the air like confetti. Andrew's heart raced like a freight train, pounding in his chest while the silhouettes moved into the illuminated space. 2 officers there to assert their control, slow their desperate escape. "Get down!" he shouted, shoving Rachel behind a nearby table, just as the officers lunged forward. Gunfire erupted, bullets whizzing through the air, splintering the table's edge into sharp pieces that fell like rain. Nerve-stricken, Rachel quickly finished some intricate wiring on the generator, her fingers working with frantic precision. "I almost got it. Just keep them away." Andrew felt a surge of protectiveness wash over him. He had to buy her time. Gritting his teeth, he ducked out from behind cover and grabbed a loose file from the table, throwing it at one of the officers. It hit squarely against his face, momentarily disorienting him. "Over here, you idiots!" Andrew shouted, adrenaline coursing through him. It wasn't smart, it could get him killed, but he didn't care. They needed a distraction. "Rachel, how much longer?" he yelled, glancing back to see her face pale but focused. "Almost there," she shouted back, barely audible over the chaos. The moment hung like a pendulum, teetering dangerously. Andrew's breathing quickened as he darted side to side, picking up anything that might serve as a weapon. A wrench? Too minimal. A broken chair leg? Better, but still not enough. With every second ticking away, the officers regained their focus, eyes flicking to Andrew and narrowing with purpose. The one he had hit was coming forward, rage fueling his movements. "Stop right there." The officer aimed his weapon, finger resting dangerously on the trigger. "No!" surged through Andrew's mind. He lunged back behind the table, heart racing. But the sight of Rachel, fiddling desperately with the generator, ignited something deep within him, a relentless fire of survival. "Just a few more seconds," she shouted again, determination spilling from her voice like sweat down her brow. Suddenly, the lights flickered again, faintly illuminating the room as Rachel's fingers slipped into a frenzied rhythm over the makeshift controls. There was potential in that generator, but they needed more time. "Look out!" Andrew screamed, throwing a metal pipe at the advancing officer, narrowly missing his head. The distraction worked, causing the man to halt. But another officer moved in, gun raised and ready. Before Andrew could react, a bullet ricocheted off the wall, narrowly missing him. The sudden spark from the firearm seemed to awaken a primal instinct inside him, one that screamed flee or fight. Just then, the buzzing of the generator harmonized with the chaos. A blinding surge of light erupted. Now! Rachel's voice pierced through the din as she flipped a switch. The generator hummed to life, and the room filled with a roar. Monitors flickered on, static crackling in the air, but all Andrew could focus on was the momentum shifting. The officers cursed as screens lit up with chaotic camera feeds, images of guards scrambling, people above in the gala oblivious to the horror unfurling below. "Now we can shut it down," Andrew yelled, but Rachel's fingers were already locked onto the console. One last push held them back. Andrew sprang up, adrenaline elevating his fight to an instinctual level. He looked back just in time to see the determined faces of the officers closing in. Not today. Not while Rachel was still working. "Come on!" he yelled, capturing their attention. He brandished another metal piece, charging the advancing figures, heart pounding. Suddenly, as if time slowed, Andrew saw something flicker behind Rachel, a shadow moving, an imminent threat none of them had anticipated. "Rachel, watch out!" he cried, desperation gripping his voice, as he realized that the threat was not just the officers. She turned, eyes wide, the urgency crashing into her as she processed Andrew's warning. But would it be enough? Would they finally break through this insane trap, or had they just awakened a far greater danger than they ever imagined? Andrew's heart hammered in his chest as the realization hit him. Time was slipping through their fingers like sand. The light from the generator surged, illuminating the chaos around them like a lighthouse in a storm, but it wouldn't hold forever. "Rachel!" he shouted as her focus flickered towards the encroaching danger. The urgency in his voice cut through the noise like a knife. She whipped around, determination flaring in her eyes, but the officers were closing in fast, their faces contorted with rage. "Finish it!" he urged, summoning every ounce of strength. He charged at the nearest officer, adrenaline roaring through him. Just as he launched forward, steel collided with his gut, and the breath was knocked from him. He staggered back, gasping, but he refused to fall. "Not now, Andrew!" Rachel cried, her tone raw with fear. There was no time to be weak, no time to look back. He squared his shoulders and lunged again, using the momentum to push the officer back, throwing them off balance. One officer staggered, allowing Andrew just enough time to shout, "Get it done!" Rachel's fingers danced over the generator's controls, lights flickering in rhythm with her panicked breaths, and Andrew seized the moment. He turned sharply, eyes wild, and threw a wrench at the advancing officers. It connected, smashing against one's shoulder, and anger flared against the backdrop of chaos. "Stop him!" One officer screamed, his voice cutting through the tension like thunder, but Andrew wasn't about to let them take him. He lunged into the fray, pushing forward with every ounce of defiance. He fought with everything, the very essence of every struggle that had built him. Suddenly, a crack of thunder boomed inside the room, courtesy of the generator. Rachel threw her head back, eyes narrowing in determination. The generator sputtered, struggling with the volume of power coursing through it. It was now or never. "Almost there!" Rachel shouted, her voice shaking, but filled with battle-ready determination. Andrew took a breath. This was it, the final push. Guided by adrenaline and an indomitable will, he focused, channeling all of his fears into one vicious roar as he surged forward. Enough of this. He took on as many blows as he could muster, thrusting himself into the officers like a force of nature. Just as he felt his energy waning, the sound of the generator echoed a deep rumble. Lights danced wildly before the screens began to pop with fresh feeds, displaying the outside chaos of the gala ahead. Andrew caught a glimpse of the horrified expressions above them and knew they had to end it. "You're done!" he yelled, adrenaline pumping, as he punched the officer in front of him hard, enough to send him crashing into the wall. "Rachel, now!" With fierce resolution, Rachel slammed a final button. The generator exploded in a blinding flash, sparks flying like shooting stars. The room dimmed, but not before the feed switched to a new screen, one that displayed the entire gala crowd, a flood of faces staring in shock at the onslaught of chaos unfurling below. For a fleeting moment, the room paused, the officers frozen in disbelief. That was all they needed. "Run!" Andrew shouted, pulling Rachel towards the flickering exit. They dove into the darkness, vulnerability wrapping around them like a cloak. They could hardly breathe, each heartbeat echoed like a war drum, guiding them away from the horrors left behind. As they burst through a door and fled into a narrow corridor, Andrew felt the weight of his shattered past lifting off his shoulders. He was not just running from danger, he was breaking free. There, with Rachel at his side, he felt the power of unity work its magic, every step driving him towards daylight, just a few more steps. They turned a corner, bursting into an outdoor space. Fresh air overwhelmed their senses. Distant sirens screamed, but the chaos of the gala had shifted, the thrill of freedom washing over him like a tidal wave. "We did it," Rachel whispered, breathless, struggle etched across her features. But even as the words settled in the air, Andrew felt the echoes of conflict still resonating. Their escape was triumphant yet marred with uncertainty. "Not yet," he said, the gravity of the moment catching hold. He spotted a car idling in the distance, one tangled amidst the confusion, and a fire ignited within him once more. "We need to get to safety." Though everything felt fleeting and fragile, they could no longer be sidelined by whispers of doubt or darkness. They deserved their own narrative. "On three," Andrew said, determination flooding back into his voice. 1, 2, let us go." They sprang towards the car, adrenaline fueling their strides, laughter mingling with exhalations of disbelief, liberation ignited in their veins. Together, shoulder to shoulder, they left the horrors of the ballroom behind, ready to confront whatever awaited them on the other side of freedom. A new dawn beckoning. Andrew's heart raced, but it trembled with hope. They had clawed their way back from the edge, and nothing could steal that power away from them now. As the car door slammed shut behind them, it signified more than just an escape. It was a rebirth, a chance to redefine who they were and walk forward into a future where their voices echoed unapologetically, undeterred by the whispers that once haunted him. "Ready?" Rachel asked, glancing at him through a shimmering veil of light as he turned the engine over. With a nod, Andrew inhaled freedom deeply, thinking of the battles ahead, but this time, they wouldn't face them alone. As they drove towards the horizon, they knew their fight was just beginning. Now, this is the moment when everything changes, and leadership, equality, and empowerment intersect, the birth of a legacy they would forge together. Now it's on you. Subscribe immediately to the channel so you don't miss the next exclusive stories coming your way. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm. Flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about what you think will happen next. And don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. True fans understand this is a team effort, so let us keep building our amazing community together.